Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Nahmaduhu wa nusalli ala Rasulil Kareem. Amma ba'd. So inshallah, we'll be going through, hopefully inshallah, with Allah's tawfiq, this book. So in this book, basically, people used to write to their spiritual mentor, who was Manana Hakim Akhtar Sahib, Rahmatullahi alayh. So any question that they would have, not regarding fiqh, but regarding other just advices of deen, spiritual matters, taqwa, confusions, problems, religious problems, not worldly problems, they would write to him and he would respond. So you get some tips and guidelines, but you have to remember, it's like a doctor, you have a case-by-case scenario. It's not going to apply to every single person, every single situation, but you get a good idea of certain things to understand how to behave, and certain things are general and certain specific. Yes? So you get an idea of what kind of things, some good guidelines. So one person, so Hakim Akhtar Sahib Rahmatullah, he was very particular in regard to Sunnah. He was very particular regarding a few things. One is controlling your gaze. Like he was very, very particular. Don't look, cast lustful glances at a non-mahram woman. He was very particular regarding that. Number two is he was very particular regarding everything, but these are three things that I think stand out from him. Second thing was regarding Sunnah, Ittiba'u Sunnah. He's got a book on Ittiba'u Sunnah, like very, very particular in regards to Ittiba'u Sunnah. Everybody is, but like it just stands out in him. And the third thing was regarding love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Those were three things that I think that really stand out from him. So one person wrote to him, he said that if somebody else does something against the Sunnah, then he says, bahut taklif hoti, I get really upset. And to just tolerate it, it's very difficult. Yes? So this was his thoughts that he was having in his mind. So he's writing to his spiritual mentor here, that when somebody goes against Sunnah, I get really upset, I get really angry, and even to tolerate this is very difficult. Yes? So again, the answer he gives is a very brilliant answer. He says, you need to be tolerant and need to have forbearance. He didn't praise him that, oh, mashallah, is very good. That means you have a lot of love for the Sunnah. He said you need to have tolerance and you need to be forbearing. Yes? Otherwise, you'll be involved in pride. You understand? That I am better than them. That they're not practicing Sunnah, I practice Sunnah. So when somebody else doesn't practice Sunnah, he said, I get angry. But he said, no, that's not how you should do. Be patient, be tolerant. And then he says here, make sure you never transgress boundaries and limits. So yes, you want other people to practice upon the Sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, and you want other people to do good. But don't let your zeal and your passion and your want for other people to do good make you involve in pride and takabbur and ujb and arrogance. Yes? And then he says here, khub samajh lo, like understand this properly. It's a very important point I'm telling you here. Yes? And then he says here, you are not a ruler, you are a servant. You're not a ruler, that you rule over people, do as I say. You're a servant. So your job is to try to advise people nicely, calmly, words of wisdom. You understand? So yes, if you are aware of a good quality, you're aware of something good, then you should try to encourage other people according to your ability and your capacity. But to behave in such a way which is arrogant, or it shows you going past the limits and the boundaries, is not even something good as well. Yes? I just read somewhere, I'm not sure who the tabi'i was. He says that if I do amr bil ma'ruf and I tell somebody to do something, a command of something good to do, or they're doing something wrong, and I say, don't do this, but don't listen, what should I do? I said, don't say anymore, that's finished. You've done your responsibility. So first of all, you only command somebody to do something good, or you only instruct somebody to stay away from a sin or something bad, if you know for sure, or you think most likely they'll listen. If they're not going to listen, then there's no point telling them, because what's going to happen, they're going to ignore it. And if somebody ignores the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it's very bad. So if you think, he's not going to listen to me anyways, so right now there's no point telling him or her. So you only just tell them where you think that at this point there's going to be some benefit in telling them. And if you get angry that they're not listening to you, and you continue to command them like very harshly, very very sternly, he goes, then a very high possibility that you're not doing amr bil ma'ruf and nahy anil munkar, you're actually fulfilling the anger of your nafs. You're angry at the first time, so I keep on telling you, do this, you must do this, you must do this. Do you understand? Yes? So this is something that we must keep in mind, that when you as mentioned somewhere else before, that somebody said that don't make your taqwa and your zeal for knowledge and your zeal for, not knowledge, your zeal for taqwa and goodness a burden upon somebody else. You want to perform tahajjud, so don't make a whole fiasco of tahajjud time. You wake up yourself quietly and pray tahajjud. You want to perform nawafil, you perform your nawafil, and maybe your actions themselves will encourage somebody else. Say it nicely, do it, words of wisdom, but don't become muttaqi in such a way that it becomes a burden upon everybody else. You put everybody in difficulty and hardship. So this is one of the answers, that very, very profound answer. We're not going through the whole book, but there's certain bits and points, bits and bobs which he discusses. Subhanallah wa bihamdi, subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika, nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta, nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk. Question as well, if you see somebody doing a sin, you stay quiet. There are two things. If you think by saying something they'll stop the sin, then you can say it. And how would you? You just use a judgment that at this point it's a benefit to say something. And number two is, if you think that no, by me saying something is not going to make any benefit, you walk away from there. You go away from that situation. Do you understand? Because sometimes trying to do this may even cause more harm. So if you got authority or as a friend, you think you just actually had that. I think here it may benefit. So then you stop, you think, you ponder, and think, what's the best way of addressing this issue? And say very good words of wisdom. Use hikmah. And if you think, no, they're not listening to me, then you can just go away from there. Or you can say something in a way which is not harmful, and if you don't know if your friend, he might listen to you, but if you say it's not going to cause anything more harm, you're going to say something, say, look, this is what you're doing is not really good. Say in a good way. Don't say, oh, you guys are going to sin for, you're going to go Jahannam. You say, you know what, this is not good. Your teachers won't like this. Your parents won't like this. Your parents won't be happy about this. Allah won't be happy with this. And you guys know better. In a nice, humble way, think how is the best way to approach this. And if after that you still not benefit, then you can just go away from that place. That's it.